Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Law and Disorder. We have a lot of disorder to talk about. Every day is an adventure in the United States. Speaking of adventures, I have to bring this up. Hunter Biden now has a art gallery of some sort, and he has buyers that are anonymous. Now, you know what that means? Now, I've been an investigator for many, many years, and I'm a certified fraud examiner, and I worked a lot of white-collar cases, okay? So when you want to wash money, you want to launder money, what you do is you sell something that has no intrinsic value, but you put an intrinsic value on it, such as a painting. You draw a stupid painting, and you give it a price of, let's say, $200,000, $300,000. The person on the other side sends that money in a wire or a bank draft, and you launder that money that way. That's one of the ways of laundering it. Of course, you pay taxes on it, but at least you got that money in your bank account. Now, when I say launder, we all know that Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, Creepy Joe, have assets in China. It's been proven. You look at the guy's laptop, you know that. You also look at the trips that Hunter Biden made on Air Force Two, his father's jet, as a vice president, in China. And he got all kinds of business contracts from the Chinese. There's also a memo or an email on his laptop where he had a meeting at a hotel in Washington, D.C., and he said the big guy, meaning his father, was going to be in the suite with the other Chinese guy. We could talk all night about Biden, but I had to bring it out because a lot of people don't realize what is going on. They say, "Oh, he's got an art gallery." No, he's not having an art gallery. It's a money laundering. Hey, Mike, how are you tonight? Okay, Mike Marcasiano, Eddie Earl. Oh boy, we got a lot of people here tonight calling in. I wish I could. One of these days, we're going to set it up where I have a telephone conference with these people. I can do that, but right now I'm still getting my feet wet with this podcast stuff. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it. I have some good co-hosts. Matter of fact, two of them are MIA. Courtenay is out. She has her own podcast. She has her own Truth Matters, and of course, I always got Joe as my stand-up guy here, and Ed. We don't know what happened to Ed. Maybe he'll pop in like he did last week in the last minute. But we got a lot of stuff to talk about. One of the things we're going to talk about is what's going on in Cuba. The left in the United States, the Democrats, which are the left now, there's no two ways about it. They are the leftists, are downplaying it. Even the mainstream media, which is left also. And Bernie Sanders is blaming the United States for this. Blame everything on the United States, blame it on Trump, blame it on everybody else that had nothing to do with it. Okay. They're claiming that because of the embargo, which has been around for, I don't know how many years, 50 years, the Cuban embargo, they're claiming that that's why this is happening. No, what's happening is people are disgusted. The socialized medicine in Cuba basically doesn't exist. It's terrible. They don't have any supply. They don't have anything new. If you see the cars and the thing, everything they have is from the 50s and 60s. A matter of fact, one of my chief investigators for my company a few years ago went to Cuba via the Bahamas. That's how we got there. And he was picked up at the airport by a nice man in a cab. And he found out that the guy was a doctor, an MD, medical doctor. And he said, "Why are you driving a cab?" He says, "Well, I'm not making any money as a doctor." And then he went to his medical facility. It was like antiquated. Like it didn't have anything. They don't have any, hardly any pharmaceuticals. They have nothing. People are complaining about food, like Venezuela. Now, keep in mind, they want a Chuck Schumer, esteemed, and I say that sarcastically, a state senator from New York, wants to investigate the NRA. They want to do an investigation of NRA, anything to do with guns. Now, if you notice that all the killings that have been committed in the last few years, there's a lot, especially in New York and Chicago and LA, are all people that don't have legal guns. The people with legal guns they're going after because If you take the guns away from the people, they can't fight back. As in Venezuela, there are no guns in Venezuela. They took all the guns away years ago. So the people can protest, but they can't fight. Same thing in Cuba. When Castro was a revolutionary, and they had guns, and they took over the government. Now, when he took over, he made sure that they don't have anybody has guns, because then they can fight back. And that's what the Democrats, or I should say the Socialist Democrats, that's what they should be called, not Democrats, Socialist Democrats, want us to do also. They want us not to have guns. But the problem is there were so many guns in the United States that if you stopped, and Joe's going to love this, if you stop the manufacture of any guns as of today, and if you stop the manufacture of bullets as of today, there is still millions of guns in the United States. Joe could, I know you're going to check in on me in a few minutes. I don't know the exact number, but it's something like 3 or 4 million guns or more in the United States. As a matter of fact, going back to World War II, when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, one of the things they wanted to do, and over 200 million guns. Oh, mannaggia diavolo. What the Japanese said, and I think it was Admiral Yamamoto, because he was in the United States as an attaché, and over 3 trillion rounds of ammo. So there's enough guns and ammo in the United States, no matter what. What he said was that they didn't want to attack the United States for one reason. He said, there are guns behind every blade of grass in the United States, meaning that so many people have guns in the United States for hunting and for what other reasons, that an invasion of the United States would be very costly. Okay, so why are they making such a big deal about guns, about the Second Amendment, when the criminals have the guns? Now, anybody knows that you can go on the street, and if you don't look like a cop, if you don't look like me, you can go on the street and you can buy a gun. You could just talk to some one of the boys, one of the brothers on the street corner, one of the gang members, and it's come over. Hey, I need a gun. How much? 500, 600,000. I forgot what the street value is right now. So when the city tries to say, "Oh, we're going to buy guns back, and we're going to give you $200 for your gun," that's ridiculous, because they can get 500 for the gun selling it on the street. So why should I give it back to the police? Okay, enough about guns. Okay, what we're going to talk about tonight, whew, unbelievable. One of the things that really irks me is a 13-year-old kid got killed on the street the other day. He was a gang member. And right now, there's a teen gang war. There's so many gang wars. It's unbelievable. And it's all about drugs. It's turf. I sell drugs on the corner. You sell drugs on your corner. Don't come and sell drugs on my corner. Well, what they do is a client wants some fentanyl. They want some heroin. They want some coke. They're going to go wherever they can. So they go to the guy A's corner. B is going to get pissed off. And there's going to be some words, and then they always got guns. Now, a veteran New York City cop sold, you sell drugs? No, I don't sell drugs. I don't sell drugs. Said that the kids are more scared of being shot than getting arrested. Now, this Criminal Reform Act that Cuomo pioneered, and with the Democratic State Assembly, no bail, saying that a 16-year-old, before a 16-year-old could be treated as an adult, they just say no. It goes backwards now. They want them to be treated like children, juveniles. What's happening is, I mean, anybody could see that this is not working. This is not working anywhere in the state of New York or any of the states that have this program. It keeps the criminals on the street. They are not afraid of getting arrested. They get arrested, they go out the next day. Recently, they caught one guy. I forgot who he shot. I can't keep track of all the people shooting. They caught him. He was caught 3 times with guns before, and he's still on the street. I don't know. New York City has what they call the Sullivan Law, and if you get caught with a gun, you're supposed to get 5 years in jail. But they don't do that. They give them maybe a year probation, whatever. But what are they doing, giving a guy a free pass each time? And what do? They shoot other people, and they shoot more people. More people shoot more people, and that's what happened. Joe thinks he sells drugs. I don't sell drugs. Okay, now what is happening is that if you notice that the shootings are mostly in the ghettos, okay, mostly in the dark neighborhoods. Let's face it, okay. You got gangs there. You got gangs selling drugs. It's a very big money maker. You got a kid that's 16 years old who doesn't want to work at McDonald's for now it's $15 an hour, big deal. They can make $300 or $400 a day steering drug customers to drug dealers. And if they get caught and they go to jail for a year, they got a couple $100,000 stocked away. So it's a never-ending battle. Okay, so how do we solve this? Well, I don't think a podcast is going to solve it. Yeah, what happened? Mark Garciano says, what happened with 3 strikes and you're out? That only if you have one. Pamela, Kings County DA used to offer a 1-year mandatory minimum first gun offense. But what they're doing is a lot of these, the three strikes are out is for felonies within a 10-year period. So sometimes what they're doing is they're knocking it down to a misdemeanor, and that keeps them out of the life thing. The new DA of Manhattan, I think his name is Alvin Bragg, who had an impressive record as a prosecutor. However, his democratic socialist attitude is let the little crimes go away, but the little crimes become big crimes. Now, Giuliani had a very good police commissioner, Bratton. Bratton, I think, was one of the best police commissioners, and he had a guy named John Maples. Now, Maple was his right-hand man. Now, Maples, I never met him, but indirectly, I had some business with him, and very, very, very nice man, very smart. They brought this thing called CopStat, which was a brilliant idea, where they can pinpoint problems within the city and try to eradicate those problems before they become big problems. And I wish all law enforcement uses this system. I'm sure a lot do. Giuliani did a great job in New York City because he let the cops do their job. What's happening, de Blasio doesn't want the cops to do their job. These liberal, socialist, Democrat cities where all the crime is the same thing. They let them go. Look at the protests in Seattle and in Portland, Oregon. They let all these rioters. We don't want to prosecute them. They don't have enough bullshit. You have video of the guy robbing stores. You got video of them burning things. I don't know how many. I believe they even killed a few people. But according to Biden and Kamala Harris, they were peaceful demonstrators. Peaceful, burning buildings, smashing stores. The irony is that they were smashing Foot Locker, who contributed, I don't know, $200,000 or something like that to Black Lives Matter, and that didn't matter. See, Black Lives Matter is another extortionist organization, and Al Sharpton made a great career out of doing that. He would go to a construction site and bring a whole bunch of people there and say, okay, you don't hire black laborers. They're not part of the union, whatever the case may be. So then the owner of the company or the superintendent comes out, has a talk with Sharpton, gives him an envelope with cash, and all of a sudden the problem goes away. One of my investigators, I won't mention his name, he worked undercover at one of those sites, and he had to make believe he was the owner of the construction company, and he had to meet one of the guys that was protesting, and the guy told him, and he had it on tape, I want $2,000 and we'll walk away. But he got arrested for that. You don't hear about that, but this happened a long time ago. Um, it's the same thing. Black Lives Matter went into Target store and made a big ruckus there. Next day, Target, their employees were wearing Black Lives Matter t-shirts, and they gave them a nice donation. Okay, so it's the same. Look, crime is never going to change. I've been an investigator. I lectured on various topics in criminal justice. I've debated people on video, on TV about different aspects. The bottom line is, in 200 years from now, we're going to have the same conversation. It's going to be different. Instead of it's going to be a different problem, but it's going to be the same thing. Crime is going to always be around. Crime is going to always permeate our society. We're always going to have a different spin on it. You know, and I'd love to. I hope I could be alive in 100 years from now, 200 years from now, to see what crimes are going to be committed then. But it's going to be the same thing: stealing, embezzlement, extortion. You know, you're going to have robots, and they're going to come over and they're going to say, "Listen, I don't want your robots working on this neighborhood. So I want some Bitcoin or whatever the money value will be at that time." Okay. So, Joe, I guess Joe's chomping on the bit to say something. We have a lot of different topics tonight. Joe, and I got to tell you, we have a big problem with the Socialist Democrats. They do not want voter integrity. They're claiming that all these things that the red states or the Republicans are doing is voter suppression. It is not. It is not voter suppression. Matter of fact, in some states like Georgia and Texas, it's making it easier to vote, except you must have identification. And matter of fact, Joe did some more research on it than I did, and he's going to talk about it. But I want to bring one more thing up. In Canada, which is basically Canada is mostly a Christian station, the French, whatever the French background. They were part of France until England beat them in the French and Indian War. They have, I don't know, 10 churches have been burned down. And the media doesn't talk about it. The media is against, in my opinion, is against religion. Why? Well, the socialists, they don't like people being together. They don't like any kind of unity. That's why they don't like the family unity. We're not going to go into it tonight, but they're training kids and they're training people that the nuclear family is different now. Well, they're talking about a family that doesn't have a father, and you have 4 baby mamas with 4 different women, and the kids don't even know who their fathers are, and that's what causes a lot of this crime in our society. And if you notice, and someone's going to say I'm a racist. I'm not a racist. Maybe at one time I was, years ago. I'll admit that. But it was self-preservation. You live in the Bronx, yeah, you got to defend yourself and whatever. But we weren't racist. We fought everybody. Anybody came in our neighborhood, white, black, Spanish, Chinese, or the Chinese and Italians always got along. But you come into Little Italy and you walk like, you don't walk like an Egyptian. You walk like a wise guy, you're going to have a problem. If you walk like a gentleman, we treat you like a gentleman. It's very simple. Arthur Avenue Park was noted for being very Italian. Okay. What they don't want religion. They don't want the Christians. They don't want. It bothers me. I'm not a very religious guy, but I respect all religions, and even I respect the Muslim religion, even though it's supposed to be a religion of peace. But how come the Muslims don't get along with any other religion? Think about it. We're going to go into it. Also, all of a sudden, Joe Biden is changing his tune about defunding the police. Now, they're looking at the 2022 election. It looks like the Democrats are going to lose quite a bit of seats because people are pissed off. People are pissed off about this CRT. They don't like the idea that the white fragility. I love that. There's a book coming out or is out. They want to give it to the children to read about white fragility, how the whites are not privileged, or the privilege they have is fake, and they're extremists. Every negative word you could talk about an ethnic group, they throw out. And you got kids 6, 7 years old, first, second, third grade. They don't want to hear. They want to learn history the way it is. Now, you do have to acknowledge that the blacks were slaves. The blacks were treated poorly. There's no two ways about it. But they were treated poorly by the South, who were mostly Democrats. The Democrats formed the KKK. Robert Byrd was the head of the KKK. And when he died, who gave him a eulogy? Joe Biden. Joe Biden was the biggest racist ever. There's a whole bunch of things that he said, like, I don't want my kids to go to school in this jungle. And I'm not quoting him verbatim, but unbelievable, because he's a Southerner, even though Delaware is in the middle somewhere, but they consider themselves Southern. It's unbelievable. So right now, a lot of families, Joe says Joe Biden is too senile to be a racist. I think he's too senile to be anything, definitely not the president of the United States. By the way, we are the laughing stock of the world because everybody knows that this guy should not have been president. There were other Democrats who I'm not crazy about, but would have been a better president than him. And why did they pick him? One of my neighbors, who I happen to love, I live in a building. I'm the only white guy in the building, and I get along with everybody, so I'm not a racist. But she said to me, well, they had to elect him as president because he was the vice president. So the mentality is that if you're a vice president, you automatically become president. Well, that goes in fraternal organizations. I belong to a couple of detective associations, and where you become a secretary, which I was, then you become second vice president, then you become the first vice president, and then you become president. Okay, and you don't want to upset the apple cart, even though I did a few times, but that's besides the point. It's not. How do I say it without sounding? Never mind. I'm not going to say it. Okay. So, Joe, let's Anthony, let's bring Joe on. Joe, what do you think? We're going to.
Hi, guys. Well, where would you like me to start, man?
Start at the middle. Start at the middle.
The middle. Hold on a second. Anthony, do me a favor. Share this picture. It's hysterical, please. I love this. I love that. The Joe Biden and the kid from Deliverance meme. I love it. It's the funniest ever. I love it. All right, you can take it down.
Somebody called Creepy Joe.
Oh my God, that is the funniest meme I've ever seen. So anyway, yeah, Joe Biden is definitely too senile to be a racist. He was definitely a racist when he was younger, and he said it over and over again. I mean, God, when he walked in, he said, you can't walk into a 7-Eleven these days without having an Indian accent.
Yeah.
He said that all over the. I mean, it was over and over.
The mainstream media covers him. The mainstream media, if Trump said something like that, or a Republican, forget about it. Forget about it. It would be all over the place.
But I love his latest today. Yesterday with the voter suppression laws. So, listen, I like to do my research. I like to be an informed citizen. So if I'm going to have an argument with somebody, I like to know what I'm talking about. So, because I had a little extra time on my hands today, I went and downloaded the new Texas law that they're trying to vote on, that the Democrats all fled Texas. I downloaded that one. I downloaded the Georgia law. I downloaded the Alabama laws, and there's about 17 of them that I'm looking at. I haven't looked at them all. I can't. But for tonight's topic, I looked at Georgia, Alabama, and Texas. There is absolutely nothing in there except for you got to prove who you are. You can't throw poll watchers out. You don't have any right to do that. If the poll counters have to allow the poll watchers to stand there and look as long as they don't interfere.
Right.
No unsolicited ballots. You have to ask for it, and you have to show ID. So listen, here's the thing. This is very important, I think, and we need to get this message out. Conservatives and Republicans need to stop being quiet and stop like hiding because they're afraid to be canceled. Because what's going to happen is you are going to be canceled, and by the time you raise your voice and get pissed off, it's going to be too late. And so, I mean, every time a liberal gets in your face and they say, oh, you're a racist, or, these voters' laws are suppressing voters, you need to do your research. You need to be an informed citizen, and you need to, explain, show me. So, I mean, it's funny because everything I've been saying on the show for the last couple of weeks, it's almost like somebody's stealing your podcast, Vinny. And I guess we're just all like-minded, but because you hear the Republicans out there saying right now, I was watching Fox today, and they're saying, come on out, we'll sit with the president and we'll go over the Texas bill line by line, and tell me the first Jim Crow line you see in there where it's racist. And, I have to tell you, I read the whole Texas law. It's only about 3 or 4 pages. It's not that long. And you read it from beginning to end.
Here's the problem, Joe. Here's the problem. The problem is Republicans, conservatives are working. They're people that work. They don't have time for all this stuff. It's the leftists don't work. A lot of them, except the ones that are very rich, that have millions of dollars, and they have their protected estates. With, like Cher has a wall around her house, and Nancy Pelosi has a wall around her. They have private security, so they want to defund the police, and they want all this stuff but they won't do them. By the way, all those Texas Democrats that went on a plane to Washington, none of them had masks on. They were all drinking I believe it looked like they were drinking on the plane. They're having a party. Now, Joe, since you read the law, what is the law that they violated that they can get arrested for?
So they're required by law to show up for the vote and vote. According to Texas law, they have to vote. Now, this wasn't part of the bill, so this part I can't quote to you verbatim, but according to Governor Abbott, he's going to have them arrested as soon as they enter the state and force them to come and vote, because it's a Texas bylaw or something that you must come in and you have to vote on the laws. And they're not there. They're not present.
By them leaving, what did that do? It left a void in the vote.
So basically, the governor called for a special session to vote on this. And without the full body there, they can't vote. There can't be a vote, right? They have to be there. So in their minds, they're holding back the voter suppression. And in the liberal Democrat minds, they're heroes, right? It's all over CNN, MSNBC. You hear every single libtard out there talking about how, oh my God, they're so courageous. Did you see what's going on in Cuba? These people are being disappeared. They're being shot at. The Cuban they want freedom out there, and these people are dying. Those are the heroes, not these idiots. These idiots.
They don't have guns. They can't fight back.
Well, right. But what I'm talking about is these idiots that left Texas and escaped to Washington D.C. on their private jets. They're not heroes. They're cowards. They're cowards.
Well, they got to come back anyway and vote.
Well, he's going to keep calling the special session over and over again. I don't think they can stall it till 2022. At some point, I think the governor has to have the power to suspend their paychecks.
Well, can he do an executive order?
Well, no. You got to remember something. The states have no jurisdiction over Washington D.C. So as long as they're in Washington, he can't have them extradited or do anything. But eventually.
No. Can't he do an executive order to form that law?
I'm not sure about Texas law, Vin.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But like I said, show me. If these guys want to yap about voter suppression, show me. I read the entire law. I'll bet you half that plane load of people that escaped Texas and went to Washington haven't read what I read.
No, they go by the narrative that's forced down their throat.
Right. So you look at Jake Tapper and Rachel Maddow and Don Lemon. I bet you not one of them has read the law, because there's nothing in it that's racist or suppressive to voting. They've increased the number of early voting days. They've made it easier to get a mail-in ballot. You just have to show ID. More drop boxes, all of them, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, all more drop boxes in more areas. So where's the suppression? Show it to me. I will go over it line by line. I actually have it on a separate screen here. Anytime you guys want to see it, Anthony could bring it up. I'll share my screen. We could go over. I mean, I don't want to waste the whole show on this. We only got a half hour left. But I could go over that entire document line by line, and somebody show me where the suppression is. That's all I'm asking.
Joe, I got to tell you, the Democrats have been known to have dead people vote. Okay, we know that.
Oh, that's another one. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt you. That was one of the additional things in the new Texas law that the Democrats won't vote on, is that when somebody dies in the state of Texas, the medical examiner or the coroner or the hospital, they only have X amount of days, and it must be reported to the voter registration bureau to make sure that their ballot gets taken off. And that's one of the new things, to make sure dead people can't vote. So how is that suppressive?
Well, you know, Joe, I mentioned this before. When I first became an investigator, my next door neighbor worked for a judge, and they hired me to investigate some people. Now, this was
This is the next guy that's going to vote for Biden, right there.
Yeah. So what happened was the Democrats hired me to investigate Democrats. And there was a thing for a county leader, and there was a couple votes, and I had to go serve subpoenas on these people that were allegedly voted. I went to the house, and the family says, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I want to here to see Mr. Adams." Well, Mr. Adams died 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. What are you doing here? So even within their own party, they use that tactic. Then go forward 20 more years. About 10 years ago, one of the Democratic, I won't mention which one because they still use my services. One of the Democratic areas.
Not after this show, they're not gonna.
Yeah, well, screw them. I don't give a shit. Right.
Yeah, that's what I
thought.
So
what happened was they had a problem with another county leader, and we had to serve them with papers. And they were all whacked out of shape because these people were dead. They were using dead people. I guess they go to the cemeteries, they look at the gravestone, and they just write the name, date of birth. You know, I mean, it's unbelievable. And I wonder if I don't think the Republicans ever did that. Maybe they did, but they never got caught or whatever. But
Ben, you know that guy Dan Bongino.
Yeah.
Right, he's always on Fox News, right. And he has this opening statement that he makes every single show. He said today is July 14th, 2021, and the Obama and Biden administrations were the most corrupt administrations in U.S. history. And he opens up every single show with that line. I'm not getting it right verbatim. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm going to do on every single show that I'm on, whoever's podcast I'm invited on, I'm going to say the same thing over and over every day, every week, every year. The most important thing that an American citizen can do is vote. And the most important thing that the United States government can do is protect the sanctity of the vote. So I don't understand, unless you have ulterior motives, why any Democrat or Republican would fight a voter integrity law. And if these laws showing that you are a citizen, proving that you are a United States citizen who is legitimately allowed to vote, if that causes some measure of hardship to people, so be it. As a government, let's try to figure out how can we reduce that hardship. You know, they're spending, Joe Biden wants to spend $3 trillion on so-called human infrastructure, right? What about we spend $500 million making sure that every U.S. citizen, even the underprivileged ones, the ones who can't afford to go out and get a passport or a voter ID card, instead of going door to door and try to make sure everybody gets a COVID shot, why don't they go door to door, spend $500 million or $500 billion, and make sure that every underprivileged African American, Asian American, Hispanic American has a voter ID card? And if they can't get one, let's get them one. If they're having a hard time proving who they are, let the government help them prove who they are, but don't lower the bar and remove the need for proof, because then you delegitimize the entire vote. That's it.
But Joe, you can't get into a movie theater without ID. You can't get on a plane without ID. You can't get your SNAP cards without ID. You can't get your welfare without ID. You can't get your the socialized medicine, Obamacare, without ID. You can't do anything. Matter of fact, Maxine Waters has a beautiful home in California. She has people come in her house. They have to show ID to get in her house. But you can't have ID to vote? Come on. Listen, the Democrats don't want the people to have any kind of voter integrity. They don't, Joe. That's the way they've been way from Tammany Hall in the turn of the century. They always have a way of getting people to vote illegally. Now, the other thing is they want all these illegals to become, they want to fast forward them to become citizens so they can, Eddie Gazzetti, at 16, these kids are old enough to carry, and using guns illegally is wrong. These kids, Eddie, the people who are carrying guns, they need it for protection from other gangs. That's how bad it's like Wild West now. I can't see a black person walking in a black neighborhood, without looking over their shoulder like 5 times, because these kids shoot each other and they kill innocent people because they don't know how to shoot. They just shoot. Right, Joe? They never took
it's ridiculous. First, they scream and yell to defund the police, and then they defund the police. And I don't want a single liberal out there or Democrat to say, oh, that's not true. Nobody wanted to defund the police. I don't want to hear that, because they asked for it. They did it. I can show you 100 video clips where they said, let's defund the police. Let's reimagine the police.
The police.
Yes, let's reallocate the funds somewhere else to community programs of unarmed social workers. Yeah, okay. And now that these liberal cities, especially Chicago, Minneapolis, New York City, LA, they're all falling into ruin, right? Death and destruction, right? So now they not only have no cops, and they say, we never said that. We never said to defund the police. They want to take away your guns too. So no cops and no guns. Guess what? You're dead.
You're dead. That's it.
You're dead.
You're dead. I mean, it's ridiculous. Really, it's ridiculous. And by the way, this is a fact. No one has been killed in the last year by someone who's legally allowed to carry a gun. Not one person has been shot at or killed by anybody that carries a gun legally.
Listen, if you want to throw statistics out there, we could throw some fun statistics around. How many riots were in Florida this year?
None.
How about Texas?
None.
Tennessee?
None. Why?
You get the picture, right?
Yeah. But
wherever there's registered Republican red states with card-carrying members of the NRA, as I am one of them, right there. Look at that, 150 years strong, baby. That's me. You don't have this crap. Why? Because you die. Right? You shoot. What do they say? They have some really good slogans. You loot, we shoot. Right?
Right. You loot, we shoot. Yeah.
So you know what? Let them keep going. They're going to eat themselves. They're going to eat themselves.
Well, Eddie Gazzetti says these kids aren't afraid to carry guns because they know they'll be out on the street the next day. And you got judges. Recently, a kid killed somebody. The judge gave him like probation or something. I mean, this criminal reform system is so bad, and it starts from the top. It's not from Albany. It's not with
Nothing is an accident. Nothing is an accident, Vinny. This is not, they're not just liberals doing this because they think it's going to make the country better. They have an agenda. The agenda is when society falls apart, the people become more dependent on the government, more government control, bigger government. So they want, eventually, I'm telling you, they're not talking about it. They're never going to talk about it. But eventually they would like to federalize the entire police force. So imagine no local police, no state police, and the FBI is the police for the entire country.
It won't work. It won't work. You know why? Anybody who knows anything about criminal justice, you got to have boots on the ground. You got to have people locally, because the feds. All right, I'll give you. I work with the. Listen, I got an award from the FBI. I know how they operate. I've testified against them. I've testified for them. Okay. The problem with the FBI or the federal, any kind of federal police, is they don't have the intelligence, and I'm not talking about brain power. They don't have the intel on the street. A local police, they know people, they know the neighborhood, they know the people in the neighborhood, they know what's going on. They have a handle on things. The federal, they don't. Matter of fact, a good friend of mine, I don't know if I want to mention his name. Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good detective, John Lito. I hope you're listening, John, because I'm giving you a shot here. He has his teams. He has a New York City detective and an FBI agent work together. You know why? The FBI agent writes the most glorious, beautiful reports, but the New York City detective knows the streets. They know what to do. So he's got a guy who's a good writer, and then he has a guy who's a good detective, and that's what he does. And I've had that same thing. I've hired people working for me that were feds, and I got to tell you, a lot of them, they're good guys, but they just don't have the street smarts.
No,
they don't.
The FBI is not the organization they were once.
No,
they're not Boy Scouts
but
anymore.
They have a lot of resources. That's what makes them. For example, I'll give you a specific example. Many years ago, I worked 4 different cases on Eddie Antar, Crazy Eddie. Okay, I worked one case where a brokerage house hired me because they were issuing stocks in his. I forgot what it was, and they had me to investigate certain aspects of him. Then I got hired by some family members to find out where he was. He really was in a hospital. He really was. Crazy Eddie was in a mental hospital. Okay. Then I got hired by a company that bought his company, and they asked us to check all their phones to see if they were tapped. That was paranoia, but we got paid for, and we did a good job. Then I get a call from the U.S. Marshal's office. They're looking for him. They asked me, I said, well, we know you worked on it. I said, listen, that was a few years ago. Now, here's the best one. I get a call from an FBI agent. He says, I know you had worked on him. He has $71 million stolen from this company. We want to know where the money is. So I had lunch with the guy, and I figured out where he had the money. It was in Israel, okay? And they got it. They took all the credit. They never said, oh, Vinny Parco told us that. But that's the way they operate. They go into the police department, pull all their files, get all their information, all their intel, and then they make the arrest. And they say, oh, and then the FBI did a great job.
But at least back in the day, with the things you're talking about, the FBI would pull the police files, legitimate investigated stuff that the cops had done. So they had real, legitimate, viable evidence, and then they took credit for it.
Right.
Which is far better than what they're doing now.
By the way, you go to any police department in the United States, they do not like the feds. They do not like the FBI.
Well, what the FBI is doing now is they're just fabricating evidence.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, unbelievable.
Unverified,
unverifiable. No, Joe, they became politicized. Now they have. Oh, by the way, Anthony, why don't you do a little advertising for my daughter's company, my books? Come on, let's get. I go. Oh, right. Hey, Mafia. The biggest seller I have right now is Mafia Double Crow. I can't get enough of them. Investigation After Dark's doing okay. The Detective's Kitchen, that's something for somebody who likes to cook and read detective stories. But I'm very happy about doing that. My fourth book is not out yet. I thought it was out. I made a mistake. I put something on Facebook that it's out. I have to have it proofread one more time, and it'll be out very shortly. And it's my daughter's company, which I started many years ago. But she has done phenomenal with it. She does very good work, and she learned from the best, I guess. I don't know. But you know, I have liberal friends, and I see them on Facebook, and they write, and some of them have written some really intelligent stuff about, like, for example, I saw one where there's a town. Now, this is a little tidbit of information. There's a town, I don't know, forgot where, in Alabama or whatever, that is 97% Republican, and they have the lowest reading values in the country. They're ranked the lowest. I think the meme was that they're stupid. That's why they're Republicans. That was that one little town, and I'm sure you're going to find other towns in Alabama, and I mean, that's the way what they do. Instead of like taking an overview, they just pick one little topic and try to slam it down your throat.
And let me tell Vin, let me tell you something. And that's a good point. They make a very good point. And that is why I tell my fellow Republicans, my fellow conservatives, that you need to be informed. As I told you today, we were talking about voter suppression laws and voter reform laws. So the Republicans in Texas are calling it voter integrity laws. The Democrats are calling them voter suppression laws. So what did I do? I don't want to hear it from CNN. I don't want to hear it from Fox News. I went online and I downloaded the law. I downloaded it myself and I read it. And I went over the Texas law and the Georgia law line by line. I have them saved here on my computer. If you want to put them up on the screen, I don't want to waste your time, but we'll put them up on the screen. Line by line, I would like a liberal to come on the show. Please, somebody come on the show and tell me which line in that law is racist or voter suppressive. I want to see it, because when you require to prove who you are before you vote, what's so bad about that? They increased the number of days you can vote. They increased the early mail-in ballots. They increased everything, but now they're requiring that you have ID proving that you are a United States citizen. Oh, and they also added laws where the dead people, they have to, when somebody dies, I told you this before earlier on the show, the coroner's office or the hospital has to report it to the voter registration board within X amount of days to make sure they're taken off the ballot so dead people can't vote. So you tell me where some of this is voter suppression and I'll listen. And by the way, I wanted to thank my wife for this lovely bobblehead doll that she ordered for me on January 23rd, right after the inauguration. And with the backup of these things, I just got it like a couple of days ago. This is my favorite addition to my new collection, the Bernie Sanders bobblehead doll from the inauguration. You remember this, Vin?
Yeah, he's the guy.
My wife just finally got this in the mail after like 16 weeks.
Now he's another hypocrite. He railed about millionaires, billionaires. He rails about them because he's a socialist. But when he sold a lot of books on Amazon and became a millionaire, now it's a whole different story. They're all hypocrites.
Look at hypocrite. You want to see hypocrite? This is perfect. Vinny, I'm going to steal one of your lines. We were talking about this before the show. You brought it up before I did, but I have to say I was thinking it. So I think I'm entitled to steal this one. So you're watching the open borders, right? And everybody flowing in from Mexico, and this is a humanitarian crisis. We got to let all these people in. But people in Cuba who are being disappeared by the hundreds, right? The Biden administration already said we're turning them right back around and sending them right back to Cuba. Why? Because it doesn't fit their narrative. Because when Cubans come to America and they get their asylum and they vote free, they're going to vote Republican, because they just came from a communist country and they know what kind of crap they're in for if the Democrat liberals win and we become more socialist. So they don't want Cubans here. They want Mexican people here from the Democratic Republic of Mexico, because when they come here, they're going to vote Democrat. It's all an agenda, and it's so transparent. It's not even funny. Why these people? You don't hear about Mexican people being disappeared by the government. Yet they're, come on in, we want you here. But the Cuban people, 100 of them this past week, disappeared, gone. The Cuban dissidents that are protesting the government, they want their freedom. And CNN is making up that, oh, they're protesting not enough COVID vaccines. Obviously, the people on CNN don't speak Spanish. I do. Because they're saying libertad, libertad. That means freedom, liberty. They're not saying COVID-19 shots. They're not saying that. So anyway, whatever. If it fits their agenda, let them in. If it doesn't,
yeah. But here's the other problem, Joe. There's another problem. The people that are coming in through the Mexican are not Mexicans. They've caught people that are Iranians. They caught people that are from Somalia, from all over the world. They know that's an open invitation. Now I understand. I read something today that Biden is opening. He really doesn't know what his handlers are telling him what to do. Let's face it. They're inviting more to come in. They're not stopping them. Now, meanwhile, Kamala Harris was in, I don't know where she was, in Guatemala or Honduras, and she said, "Oh, don't come in, don't come in." They don't even know they can't even keep track of their own agenda. One day they say, "No, we don't want." One day Biden was saying something about maybe we should finish the wall, and then next day they say, "No, we don't want." They don't know what they're doing. He doesn't know what he's doing. He has no clue.
Hey, Vin, can I ask you a question? Are you blocking anybody from commenting on our page right now? Because I actually have some friends that are watching that are saying they're trying to comment and they're being blocked.
I'm not blocking them.
It says he sent me the actual screenshot, and it says you cannot comment on this post right now.
Well, first of all, are they friends?
Well, they're a friend of mine. They're not a friend of yours, I don't think.
They got to be a friend of mine, I think.
Okay. So there you have it.
I'm new to this computer.
I have several new viewers to add to our crowd tonight, and yes. So the producer Anthony is telling me instead of Facebook, go on YouTube. And you can comment on YouTube for my friend that's watching.
Okay, good.
I don't want to say names because then they get mad at me.
Oh, are they liberals?
Well, this one happens to be the most intelligent liberal that I've ever met, but he won't come on the show because he's a big shot and he's got a lot of clients and he doesn't want to get his name.
That's another thing. With all these companies that are the woke companies like Coke and woke, whatever. They make billions of dollars a year. They don't care if they lose a couple of billion because they're making all this money. But as a businessman, and you're a businessman too, you don't want to antagonize your base. If you are selling sneakers like Foot Locker or whatever, you don't want to. Well, again, the customers of Foot Locker are not sophisticated people. People want sneakers, all right, but. You don't want to antagonize people that are going to buy your product.
I think the country is so polarized right now that a couple of decisions were made on executive levels. Companies like Coca-Cola, they could care less because let's face it, you think that 75 million Americans are going to stop drinking Coca-Cola because Coca-Cola supports BLM?
No, well,
it's not going to happen. They know it because people, and that's part of the problem with conservatives is we don't understand the power that we have, right? We control the money. We control the wallet. So if 75 million of us stop drinking Coca-Cola tomorrow, I guarantee you not another dollar would go to Black Lives Matter.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do you get?
You can't. It's not going to happen. These grassroots movements where you see them on Facebook all the time. Oh, next Wednesday we're going to boycott such and such. Nobody listens to that crap. People are too busy living their lives and getting fat and happy, and nobody cares. But I'll tell you, you better start caring because if you don't, these people are going to keep going and going and going. When I say these people, I say liberal, leftist extremists. They're going to keep going, but they don't have the numbers. We do.
Oh, I'm gonna make it. I gotta make an announcement.
Make your
On
announcement.
July 22nd, next Tuesday, I am gonna be at the Smoke-In in Delray Beach, Florida. I'm doing a book signing for the 3 books that I have out, and I was also asked to do maybe stand-up comedy. This place has it's a cigar place, but that has everything. They have music and stuff like that. So I'm gonna have a lot of fun. So my Facebook friends in Florida, you know who you are. I know who you are, and you hopefully gonna be there at 7 to 10 p.m. July 22nd. It's a Tuesday. We're gonna have fun. I'm gonna make you laugh. I'm gonna make you cry. I'm gonna make you happy.
We love you long time.
Yeah, well, listen, I got to tell you, Facebook is a good medium for me. I got a lot of friends on Facebook, and a lot of people, even a couple people that have argued with me about Trump and about stuff, they're still friendly with me. I try not to get too political on Facebook. I'll hit like and I'll put yes. I answer in very short, I don't go through a whole thing. And, again, you don't want to antagonize people. I want people to buy my books. Okay?
I don't have any books. I don't have any books to sell. I like to antagonize the liberals.
Well, it is what it is. We got a couple more minutes. Anybody? Well, your friends they're gonna have to go on YouTube or have them friend me. That's all. If I know, you tell me who they are. I'll friend them. They can be a part of the.
Well, Vinny, you accept every friend request from everybody, so it's not
No,
like
I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't. I turn
Right.
a lot of them down. I get a lot each day, and if I don't know a mutual friend, I won't. Unless
All right,
you're,
I just PM'd you his name. Accept his friend request, but don't say it on the air.
Oh, okay.
All right. If he
All right.
sends you one, I don't know if he wants to be friends with you, but you never know.
Well, if he doesn't, I'll be hurt. It'll hurt me very much.
It'll
I
hurt
won't be
you.
able to sleep tonight.
Oh, there he
Oh,
is.
He's on now. All right. So he did get
And
on.
Bosley.
Gaslighting
At its finest. Let's hear it. You know what? You got to come on next week, Russell. Why don't you come on the show, buddy? Gaslighting at its finest. Wow. So basically, if anybody doesn't know the meaning of gaslighting, and I had to look this up a couple of years ago because I didn't know what it meant. That's when you are having an argument with somebody and you try to make them seem like they're crazy, even though you're wrong. Right? That's gaslighting.
There was a movie called Gaslight. Many
I never
years
saw
ago.
the movie.
And
Basically, there you go. He sent the friend request.
Okay, I'll accept them.
So basically, what gaslighting is when you're doing what you're accusing the other guy of doing it.
Yeah.
Right. So you tell your wife, the reason that I hit you all the time is because it's your fault. You're the bad guy. It's your fault you're getting hit. A wife beater would be a gaslighter that would do. I had to look this stuff up. I didn't know what it meant.
I get calls. Listen to this. I get calls from people. Listen, I want you to check my house. I think somebody is moving stuff around. And what happens is, let's say they have a problem with their husband or wife or spouse. What they'll do is they'll move the clock or they'll move things around. And when the person says, what happened to the clock? Oh, you're crazy. There's nothing wrong with that clock.
Yeah, that's gaslighting.
Yeah.
That's gaslighting.
And there was a movie about that where the guy was making his wife crazy.
Vin, we got like 1 minute left. Hold on. So basically, the Democrats, if we're going to talk about gaslighting, the Democrats are going to call us conservatives racists, right? Meanwhile, who's sparking more racial division in this country than the Democrats?
That's gaslighting.
That's gaslighting.
Ted Cruz said something about that the other day. Yeah. Okay, we got less than a minute left. I want to thank everybody for comment. I wish I could get back to everybody's comments, but sometimes we can't. I want to thank Joe again, my co-host. I don't know what happened to our other co-host. Courtenay called and said she couldn't make it. And Eddie, I don't know.
Eddie's MIA. I think Antifa got him.
I think he forgot him. Well, he's yeah, okay. On Arthur Avenue, we have a saying: "Sempre noi," always with us. Good night,
God bless
everybody.
America.
Okay, God bless America.